What does modern luxury mean now? Is it still about fast cars and private jets? For me, it's not about having more, it's about being more focused, more intentional, being more in control of your time, owning your day and not letting it own you. So here's the question: how do you build that into your life when the odds are stacked against you? James Schramko here, and welcome back. This is episode 1104. Today I'm chatting about the new luxury, which I think is more about clarity, simplicity, and intentional living. So I'm doing a solo episode today. I'm still away, I'm overseas. I'm spending a few months overseas, and it's always good to get perspective. And I've decided to just make some solo podcast episodes as I get new thoughts. At the time of recording this, it's now 2025, and I've been just taking it really easy. In fact, I only have a couple of calls here and there, Tuesday and Wednesday. And with the advent of Christmas and New Year's, it was really the longest run I've had off for quite some time. So I thought I'd put together a few notes and talk about what does modern luxury mean now? And is it still about fast cars and private jets? No doubt when you've got some leisure time, you're scrolling through social media channels, and there are still people out there doing the whole bling thing. But I wonder if they're conditioned in terms of what they think they need to post by how people are going to react to that. And it's almost sad in a way. And I'm doing a very low-key living right now where it's mostly barefoot, board shorts, surfing, and just taking things slow. But I can do that because I've built up momentum in my business, and I want to talk about that. I'm not going to skirt over that. I want to talk about how you might go about that transition. If you're finding that you've got too much on, if you are getting confused about what you're supposed to focus on, in fact, how you should promote yourself or what things you should be selling, then this might be a good episode for you. So I want to focus on the ability for us to think clearly, to sleep deeply, and live intentionally in a world where it's pretty much against you. Like all this stimulation, all this need to have short attention spans, etc. It's really going the other way. So here's the question: how do you build that into your life when the odds are stacked against you? And can wellness become a way of living rather than just a buzzword and your reality? So stick with me, because by the end of the episode, I think you'll get a couple of clear action points to reclaim your time and cut out some unnecessary noise and to create some space for what truly matters. And what truly matters to you is going to be different than what truly matters for me. And that's a really important point. I'm not here to tell you what success should look like for you. I'm just here to let you know that I've had some changes in the way that I define success, and maybe some of those things could be useful for you to find your version of success. I'll also share with you a couple of lessons I've learned just working with people and seeing the transformations that they've had. So let's talk about clarity in business. Why is it so rare? And I think it's because we've been conditioned in terms of what business should look like, what success is. And here's the hard truth: doing more isn't the same as achieving more. So we do hear a lot of hustle, grind, 10x. It's really not the only way. Take one of my clients that I was working with. She came to me juggling 5 offers. Her calendar was always smashed, and her team were really overwhelmed, and her revenue was just staying still. Like, if this is familiar to you, then you probably want to know what we did. Well, we cut her offers down to 2, and that's it. That was really the big change. And guess what? Her revenue increased, and she also got her weekends back. She even retired her husband and brought him into the business. And now they spend more time renovating their properties and raising their new baby than they do getting sucked into the business. And all of that came through actually doing less, having less offers. So one action item would be to write down all the offers that you've got and all the things you're working on, and then ask yourself, which one or 2 things drives 80% of your results, or looks like the best opportunity based on the time you're spending on it and the outcome you can get from it. And I'll give you a more nuanced example of that in a minute. But everything else, it's probably time to get rid of it. At least write it down so that you can retrieve it if you run out of things to do. That hasn't happened to me yet. I've got a long list of things I'll get to someday, but I haven't needed to go to that. It's like an emergency list. And then just delegate it, automate it, delete it, or sell your ideas off, or just let go of it. And letting go, honestly, I think is one of the hardest skills, but it's such a powerful skill. Soon I'm going to share with you how you can slow down to actually speed up success. I know that's counterintuitive, but it does work. The next segment is living and working intentionally. So let's talk about intentionality. It's a new kind of word for me in the last 5 or 10 years or so, because when I had a job, I was just doing what I was told to do in the beginning, and then I got management ability where I could actually decide what to do, but still within very tight constraints. It was very clear that I was selling my time for money. Once you go beyond that, once you become an entrepreneur and you dictate your schedule, then you can be very intentional. What would I like to do with my time? What would I like to do with my life? So rather than just rushing through your day, reacting, getting pinged by notifications, responding to emails, which is very exhausting, by the way. What if you flip the script and design your day instead of letting it design you? Okay, so that's a profound idea, but what if you get to design your day? So one of my favorite strategies is to hit pause. So as you're breaking through from overwhelm and overload, just instead of saying yes or reacting, just stop and think, does this align with my bigger goal? Is this going to get me closer to where I want to be, or is it noise or a distraction? If it's noise or a distraction, drop it, decline it, say no, defer it, whatever works for you. But this also works in pressure situations, especially in selling, in leadership challenges, in business crises. Hitting pause is one of the very best things to do. Like an ultra version of the pause is actually sleep, and we'll get to that in a minute. I had another client, Dave. He was drowning in client requests. Like every time he woke up, his phone was pinging, people were emailing him. He always felt obligated to drop everything. He's one of those, really good guy Daves, like serves everybody. And we built boundaries into his workflow, and this was really hard for him to do. So the first thing we did is get a support team, establish a support team to take that burden off him so he didn't have to wake up to a deluge of emails. They were taking the job requests and managing through the project system. They would float things to him if it was urgent, but we created a system using Slack to have a help channel so they could actually ask him things that needed help. Just exactly what I do with my team. We then pre-scheduled work blocks. So we allocated time where he would proactively work on things. And then we had a little email filtering set up to get rid of the noise out of his inbox. Because even now, even in 2025, I imagine email is still a place where people spend a lot of their time. So what does he do now? He goes mountain bike riding, and he has a little team and they work on projects, and he just dives into it when it suits him. So I've seen this happen on so many occasions. I do think it's possible for most people unless they're in a job-like role. You don't have to rush every decision. So just start slowing down, and your body will be screaming at you, oh, I'm not working hard enough. I'm not hustling. I'm not grinding. I'm feeling guilty. But resist that and just let go of some of it and take it a bit slower. So it brings me to the next point. I'm going to talk about how simplifying could be one of the smartest decisions you make, especially at this time of the year where people often look at, how did I go last year? We're getting all the things that happened last year posts and all the goals I'm setting for this year. Well, here's the big news. You can look at your business any time of the year, and you can decide to have a new business at any time of the year. So just so happens this is the early part of the year that I'm making this episode. But if you happen to be watching this episode middle of the year, some other time, you can do it today. It starts the minute you decide. So let's look at simplicity. It's not just easier, it's smarter, because complexity really eats up time and energy. Think about an old, complicated car, with very fancy suspension and crazy electronics. They're the ones that cost a fortune to run. But the really simple ones like Volkswagen Beetles, they just keep running. They don't even have a radiator. So simplicity could be really the key forward. I used to work with this digital agency, and they had these really overcomplicated operations. Like they had multiple services. They were trying to offer absolutely everything to everyone with multiple pricing tiers. I even said to this business owner, This is by far the most complex business I've ever had a look at. And they reached a ceiling. They had so many headaches. It was like a maze. Even their clients couldn't figure out what they were doing, and their team were beside themselves with overwhelm. And they offered absolutely everything, but also, and this is important, nobody actually believed that they could be that good at everything. And the fact is they weren't. So we stripped it all back. We found the one core offer that was really an advantage in the market, that they were particularly good at, that not many other people could do. We got a pricing model that was really simple to understand, and we found that product line had a really good return on investment for the team that they had and the marketing model they had. So they made a lot more money with the exact same team, but with way less products, and everyone was happier. And it was simple because now you know exactly where to pitch, what conferences to go to, which clients are the best clients. And because it was simple, it scaled and they were able to break through the ceiling. Whereas complexity is a burden, it's an anchor. So the takeaway is, if you're trying to grow, start by asking, what can I take away? What can I simplify? Have a look at your business, have a look at your schedule, have a look at your team, even your goals. I mean, have you written down a novella at the beginning of the year? Because it's not going to happen. The simpler the system, the faster it moves. Like, I often recommend to people, put one post-it note with one thing on it on your computer screen and just do that. And even all through the year with my mentor group, we talk about the one thing they're going to do that week. Over a year, it really does add up. So simplifying your personal wellness is really the next area I want to chat about. It's just as critical as simplifying your business if you are a small business, and especially if you're a personal brand. So stay with me here. I think it is the gears that are being shifted in terms of how much you can scale your business. So what does it have to do with business? Well, pretty much everything. You are your business to some extent. And if you stop going to work, how long will the business run without you? For a well-leveraged, well-branded business, it might be a very long time. I mean, there are businesses around where the founder's no longer alive. I'm thinking of Ford, although it's probably a bad example because a lot of those American car companies went broke. If you're running on fumes, so is your business. You're making crappy decisions. And I know this from personal experience. If you were to go back 10 years, I was in a bit of a bad cycle of very late nights, like constantly staying up till 3 a.m, because that's what I did when I had a job to build my business, and it became my habit. And I actually miscategorized myself as a night person. But I was getting poor sleep. I was sleeping in. I was overcompensating with too much coffee. I wasn't super fit. And I'd convinced myself that I was being productive. And I had about 10 business models, like 10 different income streams. I had a team of 67. I was making some fairly ordinary decisions in hindsight, but I was kind of getting away with it because we were early to the market and we had a bit of luck on our side and we were reasonably good. But I was getting sick a little bit more often and I did feel completely drained and I needed to make a change. So these are some of the changes that I made. I treated sleep as important as a non-negotiable business decision. And so I get my sleep. I even wear biotechnology to make sure that it tracks that. And that has made a huge difference. I posted about this on Facebook a while back with some of the other tips that I have. But I've gone a bit deeper into it. But I do think it's a superpower that is on tap and available to everybody. And it's pretty much free, but it's so underrated. And then I started scheduling my non-work time. So for me, I want to surf every day if possible. If there's waves and if it's not going to inconvenience everyone else in my family, I'm going to do it because it's really healthy. I'm going to rack up, in the current case, I'm going to rack up 12 to 15,000 steps worth a day in activity, and I'll just start shedding extra fat. I feel fantastic. Have a cardio rate 10 and a half years younger than my chronological age, and I just feel good. I feel energetic and I feel mobile. So that is critical. But I'll also schedule time to do nothing. Even if I just sit quietly, have a coffee, I'm not trying to pack every single minute of every single day into work. I think it's been 2 weeks since I made my last video for this podcast, and that's because it just didn't feel like it was the right time. And then I implement work sprints. For me, I've got a recurring spot in my schedule that comes around every single Tuesday. It's been going for 15 years, and that's when I talk to my clients. And at the same time, I'm checking in messages and answering my forum posts because it's built in. It's a schedule. It's a deep, focused, regular schedule. And when I'm talking to my clients, I'm with them and it's all about them and their success. So the results for me, more energy, better decisions, felt happier, sharper than ever. I feel like it's the right thing for me. And I'm sharing this in case it's important for you too. I've never put so much emphasis on my health as I have in the last few years, and it's paying dividends. So according to my Aura ring, I'm a morning person, and that really surprised me, but it turns out that that's my biometrics. So my challenge to you, pick one of those things, whether it's sleep, exercise, mindfulness, a hobby, getting some biotech, whatever, and start small because the ROI on this is huge. So putting this all together, the big idea is that I think luxury and success for me, it's not about having more, it's about being more focused, more intentional, being more in control of your time, owning your day and not letting it own you. And that is how I've had a better life. So we've covered gaining clarity, we've covered slowing down, we've covered simplifying, removing things and prioritizing your wellness. I hope this episode's been useful. My challenge to you is pick something, do it. What will you change? What will you schedule? What will you strip back? What will you add to your routine? And see if something changes. Let me know if it does. If this resonated, please share it with someone who needs to hear this message. I appreciate all the great feedback that you've been giving me for the previous personal episodes, the solo episodes in this series, which started, I think, around 1100. There's a couple of them there. And this episode's been 1104. I hope you've enjoyed it. Keep your eyes out for the next one. Catch up soon.
This is James Schramko.